there's this movie, Phil Spector, coming up, and you covered that. Now, his wife was on Showbiz Tonight. Let me play you some of that, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
What a mess! Introducing the Pocket Hose. The hose so small, it fits in your pocket. Just turn on the water and watch this mini hose grow and grow and grow to maximum length to this long, full-size hose. No need for...
The sensational trial involving legendary music producer Phil Spector, who was convicted of murdering actress Lana Clarkson 10 years ago in his home by shooting her in the mouth. Now, he was sentenced to 19 years to life, and tonight, Showbiz Tonight brings you the woman who has stood right there by his side, insisting he is innocent, Phil Spector's wife. From a mysterious 911 call to Spector's driver to Spector's penchant for wearing wigs to court each day, the details of this case certainly were gripping. Well, this weekend, HBO premieres a movie about Spector's first trial. It's Al Pacino starring as Spector in the film. With us tonight from Hollywood, Phil Spector's wife, Rochelle. Rochelle has just written a song for him called P.S. I Love You, and she joins me now for this Showbiz Newsmaker interview. Thank you so much for taking some time with us, Rochelle.
Thank you.
Well, you married Phil 6 years ago. He's been in jail 4 of those 6 years at this point. Why do you think that you're going to be able to free him somehow and live together again?
Because the evidence doesn't support the fact that my husband was responsible for her death. And science doesn't lie. People do. And what frees people that is normally in jail for 10, 20 years? DNA. And in this case, it's the lack thereof. The gun was not registered to my husband. They swabbed it in 7 different places, bloodied and non-bloodied. His DNA was nowhere on the weapon. His fingerprints were not on the weapon. He didn't have any gunshot residue on him at all. And anybody that is familiar with firearms, especially revolvers with the cylinder gap, there's a huge cloud of barium, lead, antimony, burnt, unburned particles. He had none on him. And he was wearing white. If you're in the vicinity of a discharge of an intraoral gunshot wound, it's 5,000 pounds per square inch of pressure in your mouth. That's equivalent to running a semi-truck in your mouth. You would have blood and tissue and particles in your hair and your face, and he had none. So he wasn't even near the incident when the gun went off.
Well, the blood splatter actually was a big part of the case that was made in the HBO movie about Phil's trial that premieres this weekend. I did see the movie. I have to say, besides anything else, it's a compelling look at a case that is so fascinating and a compelling look at a very fascinating man, your husband, Phil Spector. Let's take a look at some of this film.
For what am I being punished? For being the most successful music producer in the history of the world.
Did you kill that girl?
I think he is not guilty. First time you got felt up, guess what? You were listening to one of my songs. You think I shot the girl?
Okay, now, Rochelle, again, I saw the whole movie, and it seemed to a lot of people walking out of that theater that the movie does help your situation as it casts doubt about Phil's guilt, but you've been very vocal saying you don't approve of it. Why is that?
Well, actually, I had the first script, and then I seen one rewrite of it, and even though I was
Okay, Aphrodite, we'll get to that in just a second. Let me bring Richard Herman, defense attorney out of New York, into the conversation. We're talking about Phil Spector here. Richard Herman, good evening.
Honored to be on with the great Aphrodite Jones, incredible investigative journalist, love her work, really one of the true champions in the business.
Thank you so much, Richard. I'm honored to be on with you too, with both of you guys. This is great.
Okay, Aphrodite, we were just finishing up that clip with Phil Spector, who you covered. I'll send it over to Richard after the comments about the movie. What was your take on his wife?
Rochelle is, in my opinion, a gold digger. I had some unfortunate dealings with her, quote, manager years ago. I know that she looked at this media bonanza, if you will, as her ticket to the rainbow, in my opinion.
Right.
I have some evidence of that as well. I don't I find it interesting that she's become so schooled on forensics and gunpowder residue, etc., now in the aftermath of her husband's conviction. However, I will say that she is cleverly forgetting about one little thing, and that is that there was blood, microscopic blood, in that white jacket of Phil Spector's that belonged to Lana Clarkson, and that blood would have had to have traveled around the stairwell, which he claimed to have already been walking up or down when he heard this gunshot. Not possible, okay? Blood does not go around a corner. So, I mean, that was pivotal evidence in the trial that convicted him, and I spoke to members of the jury, both juries, jury number 1, that was a hung jury, and jury number 2, and there was little doubt in the jurors' minds on the second time around that Phil Spector did, in fact, kill Lana Clarkson. In fact, he came out of his house and said to his driver, "I think I just killed somebody." I mean, what more do you need?
Richard, your take on the upcoming movie this Saturday and what Aphrodite said in response to his guilt or innocence, Phil Spector?
Well, anything with Al Pacino is a home run. You know that. He's just one of the greatest actors of all time, Michael Corleone. But, however, what Aphrodite said is absolutely dead on. When he walks out, shaken, crazed, something just happened, this girl's dead, and tells his driver, "I think I killed her," if I'm a juror, it's over. I don't need to hear anything else, really. Don't play games with gun residue or anything else. It's over. It's an admission. It's an excited utterance. He's in the moment. He makes this statement. It's admissible, and it's over. And
what they tried to do to discredit the driver is to say, well, he doesn't speak very good English, he didn't know what he heard, and this and that, and they played tapes of him, being interviewed by police after the fact, but he specifically and clearly said that this is what Phil said to him. "I think I just killed somebody."
A bizarre set of facts to meet someone at a club, take her to your castle, and play games with guns. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
The other thing, too, you have to remember is that at the trial, they presented a number of women who had been threatened by Phil Spector with guns. And he had a long history of threatening women with guns, and, when he felt that they were going to walk out on him. And clearly, Lana, who was brought to that castle that night, was in for more than what she bargained for. She went hoping that he could help her with a connection, perhaps, and realized that she wasn't going to get out of there unless she delivered something, probably sexual. And when that wasn't happening for him, or when she balked, he pulled the gun out, which is his history. It's a pattern. It was shown in trial.
One of the all-time criminal defense legends